All right, so think about a time you've been provoked or slowed down. Did you catch yourself saying something like, "This is the worst, now my entire day is ruined"? We call this type of thought catastrophizing, and is one of the 5 types of thoughts we know are associated with maladaptive anger. This is because it creates the feeling that you can't cope with the provocation. It makes a bad situation feel so much worse when you catastrophize. Now, some things really are catastrophic, and when those things happen, by all means, catastrophize. But if this is not one of those situations, if it's frustrating or disappointing but not truly catastrophic, instead, try thinking something like this. This is disappointing, so now I'll have to adjust. I wish this hadn't happened, but I can deal with it. This is going to create a sense of empowerment and hope. At some point, you've been wronged, and you thought to yourself about the person who wronged you, what an idiot, what a fool, what a loser, or a whole bunch of other names I don't think I'm allowed to say on TikTok. We call this inflammatory labeling, and it's another of the 5 types of thoughts that we know are associated with maladaptive anger. Now, this one is a biggie because once you label someone as a complete idiot or a complete fool, you stop responding to them in any sort of positive way. They might be a genius who just made a mistake, but you've already labeled them as an idiot, so it doesn't matter. Instead, try being angry about the specific thing they did or mistake they made, without feeling the need to generalize that anger to who they are as a person. All right, so let's say you're waiting at a store or a restaurant and the server is in the back and they're doing something else. So you say to yourself, I don't care what they're doing. They need to get out here and help me now. This is what psychologists call a dictatorial demand, and is one of the 5 types of angry thoughts. Basically, it's when we put our own needs ahead of the needs of other people. Angry people want what they want when they want it. Yes, that server is supposed to help you, but they may have other job responsibilities too. They may be understaffed that day. They might be dealing with something really urgent. And these sorts of dictatorial demands, they assume that whatever they're doing is less important than your needs. Nothing ever goes my way. This always happens to me. Every day with this. Using words like always, nothing, every, all. These reflect the 5th type of maladaptive thought called overgeneralizing. Overgeneralizing is when we use really broad language to describe the events that happen to us. We get stopped at a red light and we say, no, I'm never going to get there. When in reality, we've probably only been delayed a few minutes. The best thing to do is to try and be realistic about these outcomes. Does your coworker always screw up? Will you never get to work? Is everything going wrong? Because even a switch from always to often, or from every time to sometimes, can make a big difference in our mood. Okay, so you're at the grocery store and you're in line and somebody pushes their cart in front of you. Now, you can interpret that in a lot of different ways. You can say, oops, they must not have seen me. Or you can say, hey, they did that on purpose. Angry people have a tendency to misattribute causation in that they often gravitate to the worst possible interpretation of an event. In their minds, accidents become intentional. Or they just flat out blame the wrong people for things. You come home and see a spill on the floor and you blame your kids, but instead it was actually your spouse. Something doesn't get done at work and you incorrectly assume who's responsible. Of course, sometimes we know exactly who's to blame. The key here is to just know that your interpretation of what you think happened and who is responsible may not be entirely accurate.